Good morning and welcome to FloatOS. Please visit floatos.com by clicking the link in our video description below. The link will give you all the details of our pod amenities, features, and packages, as well as the satisfaction of the ownership experience. I want to start off by going over FloatOS and what our vision is based on our last 10 years as floatpod as a brand. We've sold hundreds of floatpods at this point. We've worked with some really great people, as well as some large-scale companies that have done really great for themselves, whether it's opening up multiple locations or creating some innovative technologies that really support the float industry. And so I want to kind of touch base on what FloatOS is, but first I want to kind of go over what our existing customer base looks like from the float pod end of things. First being, we have a number of different customers, commercial and residential. Commercial is our primary customer base at FloatPod, and we've really stayed focused on the technology of floating. And over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years, we've kind of pivoted to a new direction, which is the overall operating experience of running a float spa, operating your facility, as well as operating the float pod remotely. So FloatOS, basically what it is we've changed our focus from just the float tank, and we've really wanted to touch on all of the main functions of running a float spa. So that's why we've changed to FloatOS, which stands for operating system. Our operating system is a ecosystem, hands-free ecosystem that allows you to run your float spa completely hands-free. I have it currently running behind me right now. You can run it from your phone, you can run it from a tablet, as well as from your computer. The cool part is that not only can you control the pods, the pools, and the filtration systems overall, you can actually control the entire float spa from cameras. We have a front desk camera behind me as well. You can run your lights in your building. You can run a multitude of different things. There's a security function when it comes to our outdoor sensor that allows you to monitor your facility and make sure there's no motion going on the outside of your place. So when it comes down to FloatOS and FloatPod, again, the key factor is that we wanted to focus on the overall operating system. So 10 years ago now, we launched as FloatPod. I'll show you guys a quick video to show you exactly what we've done over the last 10 years based off of our original introduction of the FloatPod. And I think that when it comes down to people getting excited about the industry again and what we have to offer, I don't think people can just sell a float tank or a bathtub with a bunch of salt in it at this point. I think you really have to improve the technology, and that's why I think the original trademark we've had before, which is the technology of feeling great. So yeah, let me go ahead and show you guys real quick the FloatPod original video we had out 2014 is, I believe, when we launched it. So give me one moment here. All right. So I'll show you guys this quick video, and this isn't going to be too long of a podcast. This is going to be our episode 7. I just wanted to get on here and show you guys a familiar face and get to some of the things we plan on doing over the next 10 years. So here, and if you so this was our original video we launched to introduce.
Today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today is the day I hope you will donate to support.
Floating is a way for you to simultaneously relax not only the body, but the mind as well. You're removing yourselves from the bombardment of your senses while simultaneously relaxing your body on the surface of the water. And due to the density of the salt water, there's no gravity. You're actually escaping the forces of gravity here on Earth, which creates spectacular pain relief. It's unlike anything else in terms of relaxation and de-stressing and just kind of unwinding at the end of your day.
It can help with pain relief. It can help you sleep better. It can just give you this place to be at peace.
And so at floatpod therapies, we're moving away from what used to be coined sensory deprivation, and we're going into sensory acceleration. And so what by that is we're creating a tool that essentially is allowing the human being to realize their fuller potential. And so whether that is healing the body through the body's own innate ability to heal, whether it's deep relaxation for use in meditation or just stress relief, or whether it's just a better night's sleep, this is a tool that humanity as a whole just needs.
It's such a multifaceted tool. There's so many different people that enjoy floating. There's so many different ways in which you can use a float tank. And I think depending on the kind of person you are, there's a lot for you here. And so floating itself is a very personal experience, and we wanted to know.
All right. Before we get into the features of what floatpod offered 10 years ago, I want to just say right off the rip, FloatOS, excuse me, formerly floatpod, we still offer the same features. So whether it's the lights, the music, the intercom system, all of those things we still offer within our floatpods. However, the actual controllability of it, we have a bunch of cool things we want to kind of touch base on, but these features themselves are pretty common across the industry as it is right now. And so just before he goes into the features, I just want to say that now that it's been 10 years since this video has been released, we've had a multitude of competitors that have integrated the same type of technologies that he's referring to. So it's kind of commonplace at this point that most manufacturers include these features. But we're going to touch base on the operating system here in a moment.
Get even more personal. And so the FloatPod comes 3-player and an iPod dock, and it's right on the side of the pod, and so the user has easy access to it. And whether I have a cell phone or an MP3 player, iPod, doesn't matter, it plugs right in, and now I can finally listen to all the tracks I've been wanting to listen to in the past few years of floating.
You know, jokingly, I say that, you know, the guts of the floatpod belong inside of its body. And so everything is self-contained. And so all you do is we have a little access panel in the back that is actually made out of fiberglass, so it's seamless if you're looking around. You take that access panel off and you have your UV, you have your motor, all of your electrical components, things like that. Just everything's self-contained. And that's genius. The Easy Change filter is really from a spa owner perspective. We've been waiting for that for years. It's actually inside of the float area, and now I can do a change in 30 seconds. That for me is a game changer.
The FloatPod has a multicolored LED system that's directly controlled from inside of the pod. And so by simply toggling the button itself, you can switch through different single colors. You can pause on whatever color you'd like just for some color therapy, as well as you can engage a really soothing color cycle. Alternatively, if you're just looking for pure silence and darkness, it's very easy to just turn off the light and be left there with yourself.
So with a float pod, the built-in heater keeps the temperature constant, no matter if you're floating for 1 hour or 2 or 5. It keeps the temperature completely consistent throughout so that there's no fluctuation at all, which is very nice.
Now that we have everything integrated into the body of the float pod and we're controlling the air temperature naturally in the cabin, we've noticed that the air is a lot drier. There's not that dense feeling when you're trying to breathe. Now, what's really neat about this is it has very little condensation. And as float pods tanks go, everyone knows that condensation is a huge problem. The design of the pod makes it so condensation falls, and then now that we're heating the air around it, it's we almost have no condensation. Truly remarkable.
The FloatPod also features an intercom system, and what that allows is just an ease of conversation between the people working in the spa and the floaters in the back. So whether someone forgot a towel or needs you for any reason at all, it's just one push of a button and you're right there.
One of the best features about the FloatPod is that it offers constant filtration when it also includes ozone and UV. The ozone is basically an oxidizer, And now what's going to happen is that's going to bubble, and you'll see all these wonderful little bubbles coming up. It starts to smell amazing, very fresh, and it dissipates within just 20 seconds. So when that shuts off and you're showering, when you get in, there's no ambient ozone in the air. So it's just in the water, does a great job of oxidizing it. The UV is interesting. So the UV will use photons, like UV light, and bombard cells with photons, and that's how it destroys things. And so even the beneficial things that could grow, such as algae in a saltwater fish tank, for example, is made inert by the UV. We have basically four inputs and 2 drains. Now, what's really interesting is the 4 intakes, 2 have ozone that are infused into it. So instead of having one jet that just pushes out of a single tube and doesn't really create that much of a flow, the 4 outputs really create this perfect flow of water. And so because of the combination of the UVs, the ozone, the flow, the filter system as one comprehensive system, there's no scum line. It's remarkable.
All right. So as you can see, the floatpod was a benchmark for what we were able to accomplish over the last 10 years. And since then, we've released the float pool, which is basically the pod without a top piece. It allows you to float with 2 people inside of it as opposed to a single person. And then we also released the float filter system, which is a external filtration system. As you saw in this video, all of our equipment systems are built internally. However, we do have the ability for other pods and other pools and other float cabins and tanks. If they have older style filtration systems, we now have the ability to integrate FloatOS into their existing system. So instead of paying, $25,000, $30,000, you can pay, $7,000, $7,500, and have a new operating system that controls the pods or the filtration system or whatever tanks you have. But sensory deprivation as a whole, we still want to get to people using it as a sensory deprivation tank, meaning fully, silent, no lights. And when it comes to the interaction we have with the customers in their private suites, we try to minimize that as much as possible. So overall, we want to give these features and offer these features to our end clients, but our overall customers that are purchasing the float tanks, opening up facilities, we want to be able to give them an experience. And that's why FloatOS is so important, just because what it does for the overall operator's experience. So let me stop sharing this real quick. I'm going to pull up another video for you guys. End that video. But what I was going to say as well is the operating system. I'm going to have Rad here shortly show you guys on a video how the operating system's all set up for you. It makes it to where the experience that we once had in 2014 is all the same, plus all these added features and functions. So stay tuned for that. Give me one moment. Let me get that pulled up for you. All right. So this is FloatOS, here to FloatPod.
Good morning. Today I'm thrilled to introduce you to FloatOS, formerly FloatPod, the latest evolution in flotation therapy technology. At FloatOS, our mission is to provide relevant and compelling smart solutions can only get from us. With our rebranding and the introduction of our advanced smart technology, we are setting new benchmarks in the industry. FloatOS is not just an upgrade. It's a revolution designed to offer a hands-free experience for float spa owners, allowing them to focus on expanding their business while ensuring optimal performance and customer satisfaction. Let's dive into the transformative features of FloatOS. FloatOS is our cutting-edge operating system meticulously designed to manage our smart pods, formerly float pods, smart pools, formerly float pools, and smart filter systems, formerly filter systems. This system simplifies the control of water quality, temperature, lighting, and sound, enhancing the overall user and operator experience. By utilizing proprietary smart technologies, FloatOS ensures a seamless, enjoyable floating experience that is both hassle-free and luxurious. Transformative features of FloatOS. Smart Flow Switch. This innovative switch replaces traditional control boxes, making the operation of smart pods and smart pools effortless. This advancement marks a significant enhancement from the systems we've provided over the last decade. Comprehensive monitoring with smart sensors. FloatOS offers real-time monitoring capabilities. These include Smart Temp Sensor for ambient temperature management, Smart Leak Sensor for immediate leak detection, Smart Vibe Sensor for security alerts concerning lid or access point tampering, Smart Hub and Smart Switch and Relay. Centralize and simplify your operations with the Smart Hub, a must-have for modern connectivity. The Smart Switch and Relay ensures effortless device management, integrating seamlessly into any tech ecosystem. Smart Series. Our Smart Series includes all manufactured features from the original floatpod and integrates advanced smart technology to elevate the user experience. SmartPod. Priced at $29,499, the SmartPod is engineered with REST technology, offering an oasis of tranquility with smart controls, an ultra-quiet motor, hygienic purification systems, and intuitive controls for music and lighting. Smart Pool. From $24,499, the Smart Pool allows customization of ambience, music, and lighting to tailor each floating session uniquely, housed in a design that reduces condensation and external distractions. Smart Filter Systems. At $7,499, these systems enhance the floating experience by integrating with FloatOS to optimize water quality and maintain serene conditions. Empowering operators and enhancing safety, FloatOS comes included with every purchase of our smart pods, smart pools, or smart filter systems, adding a layer of luxury and safety. Features like an iPad with the Smart app installed, the comprehensive Smart Sensor Suite, and the Smart Pack ensures that operators have everything they need to manage the environment effectively and safely. Upgrade for existing customers. Existing customers can upgrade their system for $3,499. Restrictions may apply.
All right.
Thank you for your continued support, Asm.
So those are the added features that we have with FloatOS. And again, the reason why is because over the last 10 years, a lot of our competitors, a lot of people in general started to want and request better technology that controls the float pods. And so, as you heard there, we call it our smart pod, we call it the smart pool, and our smart filter system. The price ranges, we can obviously work deals out for people that buy multiples, as well as people that are wanting to add a flow filter system to their facilities, to their existing float tanks. We want to make it affordable as we possibly can for folks, so we can work something out there as well. And all of our existing customers, this is the most important thing I wanted to say here, is all of our existing customers, we've put out basically multiple attempts to try to engage with our existing customer base to let them know of the software that is currently operating off of Google Chrome. And I'll show you guys a quick example of that. But that software is actually going to be discontinued right after this podcast episode launches. The truth of the matter is the software itself is obsolete. It does not have any ability to be manipulated, updated, or really innovated. And so when it comes to restarting and providing people a platform that is sustainable, a platform that's secure, we went a different route with it. And we have about 230 current active users that operate the float pods. And we are moving in a different direction just because we want to be able to provide people technologies that are reliable. No pun intended, but smart. Specific, measurable, attainable, reliable, and then time-bound. And when it comes to having multiple issues over the last 10 years, we weren't really operating our facility in a smart, efficient way. And so the whether it was the timer having issues, whether it was us having a temperature sensor that allowed you to read the temperature from the front desk, that was discontinued, whether it was the intercom systems having issues, primarily the control boxes that we built our platform off of 10 years ago really are outdated. They're from, they're again, they're not the most reliable piece of equipment. And so we wanted to really set up a foundation, a new benchmark, if you will, that sets the standard for our industry. And so I'm going to show you guys quickly the software video going over the original floatpod technology software that's ran off of Google Chrome extension. And again, that extension will be taken down right after this podcast. And let me go ahead and pull that up for you as well. That way you can see. Let's see here. Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This podcast is actually brought to you by our new showroom, which is behind me now. It's called Float Plus Spa and Showroom for our FloatOS products, as well as the SmartPod, Smart Pool, and Smart Filter System. So let me go ahead and show you this real quick. All right. So this system right here will actually be deactivated at the end of this podcast because it was built off of an extension. Google has gotten really strict on the overall extension protocol, and their policies and procedures have gotten really strict. And the app itself is not rated great. I'll pull it up for you as well to show you here in a moment. But this is some of the features that our original FloatPod software did. Being able to set the timer and all this stuff. However, a multitude of customers have referenced this as being an issue for them just because it does not work as it should any longer. And anytime we have to repair it, we actually have to hire an engineer to go in and rewrite the software. And it's frustrating just because they have to basically restart from the beginning, rebuild it, and then launch it again. And it's not really something that I can expect customers to deal with any further, which is why we went the app route. This is an extension, a Chrome-based extension, completely web-based. The app itself is an app that's installed on your devices, and from there it's controlled from our Smart Hub, which is basically provides the reliability I was talking about. You can add as many pods as it shows in here, plus more. And as well, there's a multitude of different features that we've added to it for security reasons, as well as reliability reasons. We've added some cool features to the SmartPod, Smart Pool, and Smart Filter System. So that was the software in a nutshell. Now I'm going to pull up the extension itself. Bear with me, folks. I know no one's watching right this very moment, but I don't give a crap about that. I want to make sure we got something recorded starting at 10 a.m. We're a technology company, and we got to be on time, as Steve Jobs said. All right. All right. So right here this page shows we are a 2-star, and there's only been 2 ratings. When it comes to this extension, you can obviously see this extension may soon no longer be supported because it doesn't follow best practices from Chrome extensions. We've gotten this alert multiple times, and truth be told, based on us getting users to actually engage with the review process, as well as just trying to keep it maintained, it's not something, from the amount of uploads we've made to it, it's not something that's I foresee being on Google Chrome for the foreseeable future. We actually had a situation last year where one of our bigger clients notified us, letting us know they're having issues with the software, and they got a notification saying that Google was going to discontinue it or something like that, and it turned into a pretty emergent situation, just because, as you can see, there's 253 users that actively use this program. And since then, we've done a concerted effort to try to reach out to as many FloatPod customers as we can, if not all FloatPod customers, to let them know of this change. And as of 2025, if you have not switched over, we're not gonna continue to support the FloatPods with the control boxes, just because a lot of times the troubleshooting experience of these original FloatPods, we're shooting in the dark. We don't have the ability to monitor or look into the room, see what the temperature fluctuation look like, to see if there's ever been a leak in the back end. All those types of things we find very important. And just from being the technical person, I'm the founder and CEO of FloatOS, formerly known as FloatPod, and you know, the idea of troubleshooting and technical support, it was extremely difficult, and I understand exactly why the customers were frustrated with that experience. Just because it was a game of 21 questions, and I don't have, you know, 253 customers asking 21 questions adds up to be quite a bit. And so yeah, that's when you look at this page, when you look at this overall experience that customers have had. Again, this is only 2 ratings, but as you can see, what about the temp control? Like the picture shows, which is why we found it so important to tie a new temperature sensor into the FloatOS. This is not accurate. This is not an accurate depiction of what we've ever offered to FloatPod Technologies customers on the software. Now, we did have a system called PureFlow that operated as a external filtration system, and it had some really cool features to it as well. However, those features started to fail after about 6 months. We had a number of different customers in the field that were having, you know, technical difficulties with the salt exposure to some of the relays. We had just a multitude of things that just stopped working. We couldn't program it until we had one of our guys come in and service it remotely. And at a certain point, that's just not where we are now in today's society with technology. So the overall system, itself is going to be changed from this platform, and I will, on a later video, show you guys like an entire overview of how to download the FloatOS app, get all of your devices tied to it, and get it set up. It's a relatively easy process to get FloatOS set up for your float spa. So again, this is the software. This is exactly why we're discontinuing it. We can't continue to support customers in this way. I'm a big person of ethics. That's just not ethical to have people operating on a system that could shut off tomorrow. And we've, again, made pretty much everyone aware at this point that FloatOS has been rolled out. It's been rolled out since end of last year as our beta. And, you know, since issues started to arise with the idea of it getting taken down out of nowhere, we've been really focused on trying to get the word out as a PSA to people, letting them know of this change. So I'm going to go ahead and end this screen here. And when it comes to the next portion of this, I just want to say how excited I am about the future of FloatOS, formerly known as FloatPod, and what partnerships we've made over this last year. If you haven't been paying attention, no worries. We recently just took ownership of a float spa down here in West Palm Beach, Florida. Funny enough, I've actually been staying here and offsite at an Airbnb just to be entrenched in the day-to-day operations of the float spa. I think it's very important for not only the people that operate the facility, but the owners to actually use the equipment and use the facility as much as they possibly can when it's not booked. And so I've been floating every single day. I just got out of a 3-hour float this morning, and I feel very clear. I feel very excited about the future of what we're doing here. At one point, we had ties to one of the largest float spa franchises in the world, True Rest, and as of recently, we've dealt with a bunch of pushback related to IP, and it was a frustrating process, to say the least, just because when it comes to you know photographs, when it comes to video content, True Rest and floatpod were a brother and sister company, if you will. 10 years ago when we launched the franchise, or when they launched the franchise, and floatpod was always the equipment provider. And so when it comes to the float pods in these facilities like True Rest, most of these facilities operate off of our float pod, including the float pod software I just showed you guys. And so the idea of, supporting them and the growth, I guess it comes down to, it comes down to having good collaborations with people, a good network of people that have the same vision, which is spreading the love of floating and spreading this industry that I feel like has been kind of burdened by a multitude of attempts to try to monopolize the industry, to control the masses' point of view on it, and it's a very narrow point of view. I genuinely want to get floating out to as many people as I possibly can. I think it could really save people's lives. I have a customer coming in actually in the next 20, 30 minutes to start her sauna, then hop in a float, and then sound table thereafter. And, what I've learned over the last 10 years is there's a methodology that you can actually practice to be your best self. And our old trademark actually used to be infinite human potential, right? To have the best potential. And at some of these facilities, like True Rest as an example, they offer, oxygen bar. They have a whole sequence of events that you go through to make the experience as best as possible. And I think, with this facility, we offer, I would say, that same experience plus, no pun intended, a lot more. Our float spa is called Float Plus Spa and Showroom. We have a sauna in our facility. We recommend as a methodology to use that before your float. And then we have a sound table or vibroacoustic table that you can use after your float. You obviously heard Nick say earlier in that video that the sensory acceleration, the term itself used to be called sensory deprivation. We truly want to offer the sensory acceleration experience, as Nick was referencing to. And the sound table, the vibroacoustic table, allows you to accelerate your senses. It basically vibrates your cells, it vibrates your body, gets you moving. Whereas the sauna definitely opens up your pores. It's used as a detoxification tool. And then the float itself is a way for you to rest and completely recover. And we just recently added a cold plunge. So when it comes down to the methodology we have here at Float Plus Spas, we have our sauna we recommend to use before. We have our float pod, smart pod, and our smart pool. Those we have 2 pods at our facility, and we have 1 float pool. So if 2 people want to come in and use the sauna before their float and then hop into their float pool afterwards, they're welcome to. And then we have our vibroacoustic table. We recently added a cold plunge, so that's going to be in our recovery area as well. I'll give you guys a tour on a later video of our facility just to give basically an overview of everything, and kind of give you guys a perspective of where I believe floating is going and where I think most people can benefit from it when all the tools are in one facility. Our facility itself is just under 2,000 square foot. We offer all of those different services I've mentioned under this 2,000 square foot roof, and it's pretty remarkable at the people's experiences that come in, and they enjoy the different tools we have. But primarily speaking, I'm what you would consider the float guru of the industry now, and teaching people, breathing techniques and to be the best they can while they're in the float tank is something I like to kind of help people with. I don't like to set expectations on the float experience. I think that kind of deters people from having a natural experience. I don't like to project onto people what they should expect. And so giving people these different tools, giving them a methodology to follow, hopefully will make them the best version of themselves. And so my partner Trace and I have been focused on the FloatOS integration. If you have heard from Trace, it's because he's been calling out to people, trying to, more or less engage with you, touch base on how the float tanks are operating, see if you have any leaks on the back end, see if there's any temperature fluctuation issues, see if you have control box issues, and all of those things will eventually address, FloatOS being integrated in your facility, because there's no reason why you shouldn't know first and foremost what's going on behind that float pod. And there's, truth be told, there's no reason why we as technicians shouldn't be able to tap in and see if there's issues with the float tank. And so we're kind of taking a different approach as well with that, is we're offering a proactive approach as opposed to a reactive approach. That's something I've dealt with over the last 10 years. And so, again, I'm excited about the future. When it comes to the next steps, again, I'm going to give you guys on a later video, I'm going to give you guys an entire walkthrough of FloatOS and how it functions. And then I'm going to give another video on Float Plus Spa and what we plan on doing here. We haven't even done a grand opening here. This place has been open since 2020. We have a multitude of different reviews. And when it comes to putting out content, we're going to be a lot more strict on the usage of photos and videos, just to prevent any IP conflict. When it's all said and done, I don't think we're trying to be coupled in with the TrueRest brand. That's not anything we intend on doing. But if someone is floating in our float pod and someone is floating in on the surface of water, at the end of the day, I think that most of our customers look at that as fair use. We don't have any intention on causing a brand confusion. And truth be told, they're working on their own, TrueRest they're working on their own float tank. I believe it's the TrueRest pod or the round pod or what have you. And so when it comes to our future, we're really excited about having this exclusive experience for people with FloatOS. And just to give you a quick, see if we can focus on it. I don't know if we can, but this is what FloatOS looks like. This is literally how we operate our facility. It's too bright, I think. Yeah, there we go. So this is how we operate our facility now. And when it comes to putting the tanks in and out of float mode, I'll show you real quick. Check this out. Let's see if I can do this. See if I can do this for you on the camera. Probably not. Let's see. I don't know if you heard the sound difference, but the sound difference in this building, it got extremely quiet. So sometimes there can be a little bit of a lag for the connection point, but you can see all the pods are in float mode. Place is extremely quiet. We have door sensors on all of our rooms to where you can see if the doors are opened. And then we also have a front door sensor with a front desk camera. The safety features, if you will, we have a leak sensor tied to each one of the float tanks. And then we now have a temperature sensor. And I think, just to give you guys a quick preview of that. Again, I'm gonna give you guys an overview of all this stuff, but just to give you guys an idea of what we're working with here. So as you can see, this thing monitors the temperature. And this is really cool from the standpoint of you can actually see based on how high the temperature jumps. You can actually see the overall heater and how it fluctuates. And if it jumps extremely high right after you start up the filtration system again, that should tell you that there's something that's building up in the system at the very least, which is causing that heater to get really hot really fast, which you'll start to see high limits pop and all sorts of stuff. So before I get into the technical jumbo, let me just say I'm extremely excited about the future of floating. I think that this is going to be the new benchmark or the new standard for what facilities should operate off of. And just like this facility, I have 3 staff members. I live out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I plan on eventually moving down here, but being able to monitor my own facility from Indianapolis, Indiana, and monitor this entire facility from West Palm Beach is pretty remarkable. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm excited, and this is just another episode of the Float Podcast. So yeah, if there are any questions, I don't think there's any viewers, so it's all good. This video will go up here shortly, and like I said, if you don't have Float OS yet, we highly recommend to give us a call at 866-295-8199, or you can email us at info@floatos.com. All of our domains are tied to Float OS. All of our social medias are going to be at floatpod, so feel free to follow us there and stay tuned. We look forward to the next 10 years. Enjoy.